So it's a couple of minutes in, so I'm just going to start now, and we'll see who else we get into the session going through. So thank you everyone so much for coming to our second day of Wakefield Bounce Back Week. We started off yesterday with an amazing launch event and another event in the afternoon, and we've had really, really great feedback so far as well. Both of those sessions will also be available on the website through the recording that'll be coming up live pretty soon. Wakefield Bounce Back Week was known as Wakefield Business Week, but this year we felt that we didn't want to just talk about business and just ongoing things. We thought, yeah, let's talk about basically what we're talking about in this session today, about things like survival, about resilience, about thriving, about how actually we're coming together as a community to create a real sense of camaraderie and how the economy is bouncing back. Businesses around the world have felt the devastating effects of the pandemic, and especially in the north, we're absolutely we felt those effects as well. A lot of businesses have learned a lot about their agility, about their strengths, and have used the pandemic as an opportunity to reflect and also increase their enthusiasm and increase their resilience, and have gone from survival to thrive mode. We've got an amazing panel of people today who I can't wait to introduce and just let them take it away. So who we've got on, we've got Danielle Moore, give us a wave, from Adventure. We've got Mo, who's just joined us. I knew you were coming at the nick of time, you know.
You know, I'd love to make an entrance, as you know, George. Sorry about that.
We've got Mo's from In4.0 Group. We've got Danielle Howard from DH Professional Solutions. We've got Fiona Ebbetston from Get Ahead, and we've got Vic Edwards from VLAN Limited. So without me going further into any more stuff about why we're here, I think everyone understands that we're here to celebrate, highlight, and get on with bouncing back as an economy. So I'm going to head straight over to you, Danielle. Please introduce yourself. If everyone doesn't know about Adventure, listen up, because it's so useful. I am more than aware how useful the programme is for startup companies and the advice and resources that they can offer. So hand over straight to you, Danielle.
Thank you. Thanks, Georgia. And hello, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for having me here today. What I wanted to start with, I'm not going to do any slides, I'm just going to talk to you for 5 minutes or so. First of all, tell you a little bit about Adventure if you don't know about it already. Adventure is a business support programme that's delivered through public sector partnership. We deliver across the Leeds City Region enterprise area, and we support businesses who are trading 3 years or less. Now, obviously, that's quite timely and appropriate for the event we're talking about today. So we focus on supporting startups to build a business that's sustainable, resilient, and the strongest that it can be. The way we actually do that is we offer one-to-one mentoring, workshops on a huge range of different topics, really essential topics for business. And through the support, over the last 4 years, we've actually worked with over 4,000 startup businesses and individuals, allocated over £2.5 million in grant funding, and created over 500 jobs through the support that we've provided to businesses. The feedback that we get from businesses is going to link into some of the things I'm going to talk about now in terms of what we think makes a startup strong and what makes a startup resilient and able to survive. So we know from statistics, I've taken a number of statistics that actually off a website called FundSquire. Many of those, I saw John here from FSB, so taken from really trusted sources like FSB, British Business Bank. And what we see a startup is a business basically between 0 and 5 years. Now, 80% of startups, there's a few different stats on this, 80 to 90%, but they say 80% broadly will fail in their first 5 years. 60% of them go under in the first 3 years, and that's why Adventure's there to try and offer that early stage support and help you make the right decisions, before the problems hit or any problems occur in the business. Now, in my experience, obviously, I'm not a business owner. I've worked in this industry actually now for around 8 to 9 years, and my experience is actually based on working with these businesses at that startup stage and seeing the experience that they go through. Now, in my view, and actually it's not my view alone, but there's three main reasons that businesses fail. And actually these, they're pretty straightforward and pretty obvious. Number one is there's actually no market for the product. Quite commonly, actually, people, they'll have a great business idea in their view, but you really have to research and test that market. So that is a common and well-known reason for business failure. Another reason is cash management, actually managing cash flow and getting that right. Now, that can be crippling for a business, even if you've got an incredible product, but you've not managed your cash flow and understood your finances through those early years. That can be really detrimental. And the third one is really interesting, I think, and that's actually the wrong team. Business success is about surrounding yourself by the right people, hiring the right people, recruiting the right talent for your business. And again, as an early stage business owner, that can be so challenging to make the right decisions. And having support around you to do that and do it well is really, really crucial and important. In terms of feedback from the businesses we get, actually, the things that's really helpful is actually having someone to speak to, having people you can talk to, have a critical friend, someone who can, be really honest with you. And that's not your family saying that's an amazing idea. We all want that. Your family are not going to buy the product. We talk about this in business quite a lot, and it's quite a common one. It's great that your family and friends support you, and there really will be your supporters in these early stages, but you need to talk to people who are actually in business. It doesn't matter if it's the same industry. Talk to people in your position and ask for advice, and ask for critical advice, because it's really important. And then I'd say really important things to do to give yourself the strongest start. And again, this is based on experience that I've seen from businesses that have, made a great success as a startup. Danielle and Vic being two of them, actually Georgia as well, incredible business people, all of you. One, connect with your community. Now, I know actually all three of you do this incredibly well. You've built an amazing community around you, and you really feed into that ecosystem. You give as well as take. So you give into that community. That's really important, because then your community will trust you, they'll recommend you, they'll support you. It is definitely a two-way street. Seek opportunities. They will not come to you. You have to be active and you have to be out there. I'd say prepare to fail and then fix it, and do that fast. And that's really obvious, and a lot of people say that, but it's true. And lastly, everyone loves this bit, I know you do. Have a plan. Have a plan. Don't have a 100-page business plan that you can't keep up with, no, but have a line of sight. And when I say that, it's just having a clear objective. Have a vision for your business and understand your USP, your niche, or your drive. That allows you to make decisions that relate always to the end goal of your business. Often, I think as a startup, there's a risk of trying to do so many things. And again, a number of businesses we've worked with have fed back that actually us talking to them about really simplifying what they're doing and focusing on one thing at a time is really crucial. And that does really help. And then you can be the best that you can at that particular niche, your USP. And I think that's probably enough from me now till the panel. So there's my thoughts on how to start strong. And what I would say is definitely reach out and ask for the help. If anyone wants to speak to me individually, you can do that. And we've got a follow-on event after this, just a bit of a conversation with myself and a couple of members of the team, including lovely Vic as well, who's on here today. So do get in touch and talk to us if you want to find out how we can help you.
Thanks, Danielle. There's never too much from you. You can't say that. But I do like the point about your family aren't going to buy your product. They could be your biggest fans. And I just learned from Vic's LinkedIn this morning that his mum and dad think that he runs the best IT company in the world. So that's all the support that you need, isn't it? But you're right. And, there was a lot of great discussion yesterday. If anyone wants to go back to rewatch the session that we ran yesterday afternoon on innovation and diversification in industry, there was Jonathan Scott from Northern Media, who was talking a lot about how he helped a lot of his clients pivot. And a lot of that was based on what we were talking about there, about market research, knowing your customer, understanding needs, and not just assuming people are going to want what you've got, to making sure that you've got a real steadfast business case before jumping in with something. So thanks very much for your comments there. We're going to go on to Mo. If anyone wants to say hello, if you want to have a little conversation yourself, please feel free to utilise that chat function there. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of the the session. So if anyone comes up with any questions for any of the speakers, please add them to that Q&A function, and I'll pose them to the speakers in the panel session post all of the talks. So I'm going to jump straight over to you, Mo.
So
I'll let you introduce yourself, because I didn't have any time when you swept in this morning. So I'll let you introduce yourself and what you're up to at Info 4.0.
Thanks for that. No, that's fine. I don't do major fanfare anyway, so it's okay. So yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of Info Group. My career has spanned from 1995, when I started my first business, and like that, I've scaled and started over 10 businesses, a number of university spin-outs, and I've had plenty of failures in between as well. And what we are doing with Info Group is, our business model is to be the enablers of grassroots innovation and transformation in communities through technology, to bring prosperity into the regions that have previously not had that. And I'm talking about regions where there has been decline in industry, where it's a low wage economy, where there's high unemployment, and we know those regions because we all come from them, and we see that every day. The model for Info is that we operate their innovation environments under 3 pillars: innovation, skills, and startups. They're all symbiotic, and we put them together in an environment that actually helps to nurture each one. At the heart of it is innovation. You've got skills as the bedrock. And if we're going to bring prosperity into these regions, it's through skills, because it's about the individual engaging with the opportunity, whether as an entrepreneur or as a actual technologist, or within that technology environment, upskilling themselves, developing their talent, and being a net contributor to the regional GVA. And where you're looking at startups, how we can accelerate innovation and IP through the medium of entrepreneurship, through that individual talent. And it was great to hear Danielle talk about the great things that are happening in Yorkshire. I'm a Lancashire lad, so don't hate me for that. But the reality that I see, and having been an entrepreneur and having had the scars to show for that, is that failure is inevitable. And I do not want to say to any startup sitting here today that you're going to come into this sort of nice cocooned environment, and we operate Host, which is the premier innovation hub in the Northwest, that you're not going to fail. Because it's like that parent who has a newborn child, and the doctor telling the midwife saying your child will never get sick. And when we were growing up, we had bottles of Calpol and amoxicillin all the time, because that's what you expect to happen. So sometimes I get frustrated with the notion that there is some formula that will actually immunize any entrepreneur from failure, that you do all of these things and these things will stop you from failing. What an environment of innovation should do is to ensure that that person fails to succeed, doesn't fail so badly that they will irrecoverably never go back into that space again. And the danger with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they do fail invariably, but they fail in such a way that they can't get back up again. And the duty of any innovation environment is to ensure that you allow that to happen naturally. It's a natural part of the entrepreneur's journey. There'll be small failures, there'll be stalling, there'll be issues, but you must accept that that's what's going to happen. What the investment we make is in the entrepreneur, to ensure that the entrepreneur develops their talent sufficiently to be able to ensure that that failure becomes a source of success and an ability for them to actually develop further or evolve. But also, let's be honest, what does any investor look at? From any point of view, you could have the best IP in the world, but they're looking at the entrepreneur. And especially at that early stage, the critical 0 to 5 stage, where it is about the entrepreneur or the entrepreneurs. It is about the founders and their journey, and as to what they are doing this for. What is the why? Why are they actually doing all of this? And that's where the investment must be. And that's where the reality must be, that I say, and our environment is entrepreneur-led. So everything we do is a peer-driven approach, that all of the people who are mentoring, who are leading, myself, my business partner, all of us are time-served entrepreneurs. We have great practitioners, we have great specialists in different areas, but it's that peer-to-peer. There is that, that area of understanding and appreciation of what the journey for an entrepreneur looks like, because you've been on that journey. It's never the same, but there are commonalities. There is an understanding and an acceptance of what will happen or what will be the reality. So that's where we set ourselves apart. That, where I'm coming from, and I've sort of seen this, in my business career many, many times over, and looking at where success and failure is in this innovation ecosystem, and why there is I believe, a fracture within that. Why do we not get the traction? Millions of pounds have been funded into the regions, millions of pounds of investment has gone in, but today we're still here looking at this sort of north-south divide. We're looking at where there's great successes in certain parts of the country and where there isn't in certain parts of the country. And I think one of the things that we must address is the truth being there is a reality. And I think the reality for entrepreneurs must be clearly set out, because if you then are in that space, there's more likelihood of success. And that's the sort of environment, and that comes through collaboration. That comes through, what Danielle so well, articulated, in that creating a community, creating that sort of self-sustaining sort of, energy that will support entrepreneurs in that journey, which will be littered with successes and failures. But in the end, we will see absolute outcomes in job creation, in new IP, in regional regeneration, GVA. And at the bottom line, Georgia, what we must do is keep our talent local. We must stop this whole cycle of, you invest in a community somewhere and that community then migrates somewhere else because they see their future being better somewhere else, or we actually migrate things into our communities that never actually take root. We must grow from within. And one of the things that Info are doing, and Host, is this whole accessibility to the most diverse community. Our innovation environments aren't still yet seen as a safe place for many of our talent in those most disadvantaged and underrepresented spaces. It still looks stratified. It still looks a certain way because it's governed by the money that's being invested or the people who are the custodians of that. So we must absolutely work hard. This is the hardest question that we must take on, to say, how do we go and inspire new entrepreneurs in the most disadvantaged, most hard, furthest away spaces, and inspire them to come into a safe, secure environment. This is why at Host, we have 3 elements to our DNA. We humanize technology, we focus on place, and we change the culture of startups. The culture being that it's not the race to the investor. It is not at any cost. I started my business and it was absolutely told to me that the badge of honor for an entrepreneur is to absolutely kill yourself. And if you're not killing yourself, you're not going to succeed. And you're working every hour that God sends. And if you're not doing that, you're not a true entrepreneur. And you must sacrifice things. Your family must go, your pleasures must go, because if you really want it enough, this is what you need to show people. That is absolutely pants. I'm sorry, that formula should not exist, because that is prohibitive to so many people, so many great talented entrepreneurs today who are in their own domain, who will see this and say, well, that's not for me. And in the North especially, we are missing out on such brilliant talent because we're still presenting this perception of what an entrepreneur should look like. And that's what we're disrupting, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we're working in different regions, and we'd love to work in Wakefield and everywhere else, because I think that is the transformation. The disruption we must create is the culture of startups, the culture of innovation hubs. They must, we went to this whole sort of, bring startups into a hub, and, we went then into this desk-driven operation, £350 for a desk. You came in, you took a Greggs pasty at 10 o'clock, you sat in front of your laptop and you went home at 10. Nobody spoke to anybody else. And I think the pandemic has thrown a light on this, because all these innovation hubs are full of people coming in to a desk and sitting there for 8-9 hours, not talking to anybody else, just in front of the laptop and then moving away. That is not the point of an environment that is conducive to nurturing great entrepreneurship. It must bring people to start to pollinate, explore, share, ideate, create, collaborate, and that's when you can safeguard failure and move towards success.
I think Danielle's giving you a bit of a round of applause there, but I think
I was going to say, I feel like I want to clap after that. It just felt like almost like a Martin Luther King speech. Then I was like, wow.
Well, I tell you what, if you needed to come on and get a little bit of a wake up and just kick up the butt in the morning, you come to the right place. But you always do with Mo, no matter what time of the day it is. So I really appreciate you giving your signature gusto to this, Mo. I knew that you would. Really appreciate that. But you and I have talked about it before, where the whole entrepreneur hub thing, it's a bit of a fallacy. It started out as a great idea, but the whole cocooned environment, the whole keeping people safe and giving them 1,000-word business plan, and that something that they're never actually gonna, and they never actually really want to leave the nest because they're in this amazingly helpful place where they're just happy, and so they'll get introduced to investors and that kind of thing, but actually they need to be seeing the face of the real reality of life, and it's that tough love aspect, isn't it, that I think is the difference between what you guys are doing and what other environments that I've seen, where actually it feels like, is this maybe just a bit of a tick box exercise? Maybe someone somewhere has said, oh, here's a bit of an area that needs some refreshment, it's a bit of a deprived background area, let's stick an entrepreneurs hub in there, and it's just this sausage factory that brings out one after another of the exact same type of companies with the same mindset, and there's no innovation and there's no diversification. Yeah, I mean, you've fired us all up, I think, but let's not go off too much on a tangent, because I've got another 3 people who need to give their piece. I know that you and I could speak the world to rights, and we'll do that another time when we're allowed to meet in person, but we're going to move on now. If anyone, like I said, has any comments, any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. We've got loads and loads of great comments now coming up in the chat function as well, so we're going to move on to you, Danielle, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just going to share my slides. So I did manage to pull some slides together, so I will just share those. You can just let me know that you can see those, Georgia. Brilliant, thank you. So my things that I wanted to share really are very similar to what Danielle has already said, so at least it shows that at least we know what we're talking about, if not both of us are getting it wrong. So but with a kind of, so Danielle sort of saying, she's worked with lots of businesses and kind of seen this despite her not being a business owner. So this is my my scars of some of those things that she was talking about. So first of all, just to let you know who I am and why you should listen to me. So my background was quite varied, but usually working in very large, complex operational organisations, largely in kind of business change and business improvement. So did a lot with the NHS, government organisations, and then latterly across in the third sector, working for Step Change as well. So I actually set my business up at the end of 2019, originally to become a freelance contractor project manager, and then COVID happened, and the contract that I was working on came to an end. It was IT infrastructure in offices, and obviously everybody went home, so those offices weren't needed anymore. So I was lucky enough to be accepted onto the NatWest Accelerator programme exactly at that time. So started in April last year. And kind of went on a bit of a journey about, what I wanted to do and who I could help. And so today, you'll mostly find me learning about sustainability and exploring how I can increase my positive impact on the world, and then sharing my kind of skills and expertise with other leaders who want to make a difference through their business. So kind of again echoing some of what Daniil said, that there are lots of things that you really need to look out for, but some of the key things that can get in your way is cash flow. So I was quite lucky that you know, having been contracting for a while, I'd managed to save some money that was kind of keeping me going for a while. But I know a lot of other business owners who might try and have a part-time income whilst they get going. So, you know, some of this, it doesn't happen overnight, this stuff. So really make sure that you're kind of looking after your cash flow, particularly in the early days. Timing and offer, again, kind of echoing Daniel's words, it might not be the right kind of product market fit. The customer demand might not be there, particularly if you're doing something innovative. You kind of rely on some of those early adopters to pick it up. Again, my starting point was situational, really, and I was kind of thrown into, right, well, I better set a business up then, which was good. But then it meant that I didn't really, you know, understand my offer. So I kind of came out the gate very excited and insisting that I could help everybody, and that's just really not that helpful for anybody, actually. And you know, it was that kind of understanding what I really cared about and who I could really help that helped me. From a team point of view, this sort of combines with and skills. So you might not have the right people on board, you might not have anybody on board. In fact, you know, for a long time I insisted that I could do everything myself, and that's just not possible. It's just not feasible. You can't be good at everything. You know, I wish I'd outsourced quite a lot of stuff a lot sooner than I did. So that's something to really consider. Get help with the things that you're not as good at, really, as soon as you can afford to be honest. And then pesky pandemics tend to get in the way a little bit, so watch out for those. So if you consider, when you, on top of all of that, you then add on your own mindset. I know this says a day in the life of, but a week in the life of, a month in the life of, it's such an emotional roller coaster. And I think with your own business, it's your baby, you know, you want it to work. And, you know, certainly I found very early on that the emotional roller coaster can really be quite an intense one. But, you know, stick with it and eventually you get there. So I'd say, you know, the things to focus on really, you need to start with yourself. And this echoes some of what Mo was saying. You kind of no good to anybody if you're absolutely exhausted and your family aren't talking to you anymore because you're working all the hours God sends. So sorting out your own mindset is really important. And I'd say finding my purpose, so realizing who I wanted to work with and, you know, what I could offer and the things that I really cared about, that was really helpful to me and kind of helps keep me on track, really, because it's a good reminder of why you're doing what you're doing. And from a resilience point of view, you know, from a practical point of view, you can so practice adaptability, put yourself in situations where you have to think on your feet a bit, you know, embrace change, lean into risk. I mean, within reason, don't be silly about it, but, you know, calculated, but put yourself in those situations, you know, that really test you, and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, because, you know, that's how you will get used to you know, being more resilient and overcoming challenges. But also just from a kind of well-being and self-care point of view, so practice gratitude exercises, maybe it's reading or learning, you know, make sure you're resting, relaxing, get outside in nature, whatever it is that floats your boat and makes you feel better, just do that, and do it as much as you can. And then, you know, again, you can't do this alone. A support network is key. So yes, friends and family, but, you know, peer groups, other business owners. I very early on joined the In Business networking group, which are based in Leeds, run by Tracy and Ian Earl. And I don't think I would be where I am today if it weren't for that kind of support group. And get a mentor or a coach, or plural, you know, or, you know, find support programs. So Daniil mentioned Adventure, which is absolutely awesome. Obviously, I was on the NatWest programme. You know, it's just, you can't do this alone. You know, if you are a kind of entrepreneur that works on your own, or you know, sole trader or whatever, it's just going to make your life so much easier if you find your tribe, basically. So then to consider, we're coming out the other side of COVID now, hopefully. You know, restrictions for various types of businesses are always changing, but then even, you know, when that's over, what's next? You know, we're always going to have something as business owners that, you know, we have to be considering, that we have to be changing for, that we have to be worrying about. And, you know, you need to be as flexible as possible to be able to adapt to what's kind of coming down the line, really. So then moving on to the business tips that I wanted to share. And I think, you know, through COVID, there seemed to be, businesses fell somewhere on a spectrum for me that were forced to change. They were either able to completely change what they were doing to respond to the new kind of needs of the world. They were able to change on the surface, but their kind of systems and processes and structures were left behind a bit and took quite a bit of effort to catch up, perhaps. And then there were those that really struggled and, you know, either didn't survive or really, you know, kind of clinging on by their fingernails, really. And so some of the things that I spotted in some of the businesses that I've worked with, you know, some of my peers around me, or even some of the things that I recognised within myself and my business, include so people, when I say people, I mean really good relationships. So if you have a team of people, that includes your team, that includes the culture within your business. So again, you know, what's that purpose and is everybody aligned? But also clients, suppliers and partners, make sure you're really engaging them and make sure you're really kind of on the same page as them. That'll do you a lot of favours. Infrastructure. So again, this is something that I, you know, one of my areas that I help businesses with from DH Professional Solutions point of view. So some of the businesses that I saw that were able to kind of really pull through, they had, you know, very simple, well understood processes. They had a good supply chain in place. They had quick access to the right technology that they needed. They were monitoring the right information that they needed to be able to monitor. Just kind of making sure that those systems and processes were really as agile as they could be. Then be aware of your risks and opportunities. So risk planning and risk management and risk analysis is, as a project manager by background, obviously that's something that I can kind of do with my eyes closed and standing on my head. But even if you're not really that used to it, or you're not that comfortable with it, or it's a bit boring, just plow on through, just do it, because you need to know what your risks are in business. And equally, you know, make sure you're looking out for your opportunities. So be aware of what's going on. So I mean, I've got People, Profit, Planet there, the triple bottom line. That's something that, you know, that lots of businesses are starting to worry about and starting to care about. But, you know, technology as well, what technology's out there, research and development, support programs, again, offer lots of opportunities. So Adventure, the webinars, the grants, etc. And then coming on to finances. So make sure you really know your numbers. So what do you need to do to make sure your numbers are where they need to be? Where is your money coming from? Looking at what grants and funding are available. They can be quite hidden. So really put some time into finding what's available to you, because that will really help. And that's me. So thank you for listening, and obviously pop your questions in the chat if you have any. Feel free to connect with me on social media, and I hope at least something in there you might have found useful. So thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, Danielle, and sharing your story. I think that some of the themes that are coming out from everyone is that spirit of collaboration, and I feel like I don't want to press the point too much about that north-south divide thing, you know, that Mo mentioned earlier on, but I feel like a lot of times when I know entrepreneurs in London, for example, it's just so vast. and it feels like everyone is so just dispersed and they don't have the little pockets of collaboration that we have in the north. And I feel like as well, we're not as shy about talking to people about stuff. We don't see things as taboo. We don't see things like money as taboo, like failure is taboo, like things that I think that in a more aggressive environment for entrepreneurs, they would feel like a little bit like less likely to want to share any failures, and they would be more likely to sort of think, oh, I don't want to talk about the fact that I don't understand a P&L. I don't want to, because I have that facade of being this great you know, London-based entrepreneur, and I don't want to look as though I'm looking for support. Whereas we're just a little bit more like, I need you, I want your support, I need you to tell me about this. And you're just a little less shy about asking for help, which is just so much more freeing, I feel. Because, you know, I'm only 4.5 years into business, and there's no way that I would ever second guess asking any one of you for literally any advice. It's just, you just need to be that bold, and you need to just be that confident that it's not going to make you look weaker. It's going to make you and everyone around you stronger. So I don't want to again go off on my own rants with this. We'll move on to you, Fiona, please, if you're ready.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen. You'll have to apologise. I've just got a bit of a croaky voice at the moment. So thanks for having me. It's great to be here with the other panellists, and they've raised some really interesting points so far. So just wanted to talk about how outsourcing could help startups be more resilient. So what is outsourcing? So you might want to look at outsourcing to another company or to a subcontractor, where potentially you haven't got the right skills within your toolkit, or you're not quite ready to employ somebody yet, especially as a startup. You might not necessarily have the cash to be able to employ somebody, but that you're restricting your growth by not being able to deliver some of these to a high standard. So possibly looking at, you know, I think one of the first areas that a lot of businesses do outsource is their accounting, but there's so many other things these days that you can look to outsource. So just what are some of the benefits of outsourcing? So looking to decrease the risk within your business. So as a startup, you've probably got lots of exciting and innovative ideas, but you might not necessarily have the time or the skills yourself to be able to sort of try those out. And equally, you might not want the risk of employing somebody to help you to deliver one of those exciting new ideas. So looking at outsourcing can help you to try something out without that the risk of security of your staff. So it's a way of helping you to grow those exciting ideas, but managing that risk around it. A lot of people have already sort of talked about the importance of cash flow, and you know, Danielle mentioned that, you know, that is one of the 3 reasons why businesses fail in the first 3 years, because they're not managing their cash. Outsourcing can help you to do that, because you're not paying a member of staff, you're just paying for the work that somebody's doing for you. So you're not paying for holidays, you're not paying for sick leave, and you can manage the projects that you want to deliver within your cash flow, and you know, put a budget aside to that, so that you know, you can deliver within the cash flow that you've forecast, so that you know that you can afford what you are going to outsource, and that you're not going to you know, run out of cash doing that. It helps you to be more flexible. So if you are a solopreneur and, you know, suddenly you get quite a lot of opportunities that come your way, you might not necessarily be able to take on all that work yourself, and you know, often people have to you know, miss out on an opportunity because they haven't got the time to do everything that's been being asked of them, or the working the ridiculous hours that Mo mentioned, because they don't want to turn things away. Because when you are a startup, you kind of, it's really, you want to do everything, that comes your way. It's, you're building your business. Obviously, you're wanting to take every opportunity that you can. So if you've got that team of people around you that you can kind of rely on to say, right, I've got this extra project that's come on board, can I count on you? And they're there to help support you. You're not letting people down, and you're not putting yourself under so much pressure as well. You might want to offer some extra services to your clients. So you might have some services that could complement what you offer to your existing clients, your existing services that you provide. You might have some things that would complement that and add benefit to your clients. But again, you haven't got that skill set. So looking at somebody else to help complement your service, you often find that there's a lot of collaboration these days, which is fantastic to see. So a web designer would maybe collaborate really well with somebody who writes content for a website, and because they're fulfilling the actual requirement for the client, but they're doing it together through two different businesses. Can do doesn't always mean that you should do. So Daniil also mentioned, trying to do everything yourself. It's really difficult because you aren't good at everything. When we start out in business, we start out with our idea, and then you've got everything else that sort of goes around that idea to make it a success. But it's probably not what you enjoy doing all the time. And just because you can do it, maybe think about what you don't like doing the most, and looking at getting some help with that. Again, stop being all things to all people. So similar, just looking at what it is that you do really well, and just focusing on that, and reconnect with your why. So why did you start out in your business? So, you had this exciting idea, but you can then get bogged down with everything else and fall out of love with why you started your business. So it's really useful to start looking at, moving these things away that are stopping you enjoying your business, so that you can move it forward and grow it. So look at how to start outsourcing. So really look at what's taking up your time. So breaking it down into something like this spreadsheet just really allows you to put some focus on, maybe where you should look at to start outsourcing, what areas should you look at first, and what is really taking up your time, what are those real time drainers and enjoyment drainers as well. And skill swapping can be a really great starting point for a startup. You might not have the cash to start with to be able to afford to pay somebody else to do something. But, the example that I gave before, if you've content, you can swap that for some web design for your business, so that, you're getting a really good result for your website, but you're not paying for it because you're offering some content to the web designer for his clients. So really think about who could help you and who you could help in business, and that will create some fantastic business relationships going forward as well, which everybody's also said how important they are. Just got a quick client testimonial in there. So we just worked with a client in Wakefield, and just really helped them through this period of growth and product launches. And then in your business, do what you love and outsource the rest. Remember, you're the boss. And one last quote about resilience: it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that's Charles Darwin. And I just thought that was so so relevant given the current circumstances that we found ourselves in the last sort of 18 months. So that's me. Do reach out on social, and yeah, happy to answer any questions later. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Fiona. That was really good. And I feel like, as Danielle said before, everyone is kind of on the same page here, so we can't all be wrong, can we? And you also mentioned the same as Danielle about not trying to do everything yourself. You know, from day one, I had an accountant. I think it's really, really important to stay super close to your own finances, get your head around things like P&L and understand it so that you can make great decisions, and just force yourself to understand numbers and spreadsheets and stuff that you may not be very naturally, you might be quite naturally adverse to. But there's no way in hell I would ever do my own VAT return. Just no, I'm too afraid. I'll definitely get it wrong, and just like there's just things that you shouldn't do. It would take you too long, and your time is the most important thing, isn't it, when you're trying to run your business? I also feel like you're right about the scaling of a company, because, you know, again, something that Mo picked up on earlier on, one of the badge of success for an entrepreneur is, oh, you've got a 10, 20, 30 man team. It's like, well, do you actually need all those people? Can you actually probably have done something a little bit more efficiently and outsourced that? And I don't know about you guys as well, but I've also come across quite a few people recently where they've got quite a flippant approach to hiring people. And it's like, oh, well, you know, we've got the success, we've hired another 10 people, here we are in PR with like a 100-man agency. And it's like, well, okay, but what if things go wrong? And their attitude is like, oh, well, we can just scale back down. And it's like, I don't know if anyone's ever been made redundant, or you've seen, or you've made people redundant, but it's the worst thing in the world. And you can't just flippantly do that to people. It takes such a toll on someone's confidence and on their feelings that people are just flippantly, oh, we'll scale up. If it doesn't work, we'll scale back down. It's like, yeah, but the people that you're doing that to, it's massively like, you know, detrimental to their confidence and what they're going to do next. You can't just throw people out in the bin like it's nothing. It's not fair to do that to people. So you've got to be really, really responsible about the people that you bring in, and actually see them as people and have humanistic element to it. They're not numbers, and you can't just be that way, I don't think, in business.
I would fully support that, Georgia. And I think, you know, in terms of actually being in that environment and looking at recruiting, you'd soon become, you know, a company with that kind of attitude would soon struggle to hire anybody as well, because, you know, industry talks and people in industry talk to each other. So yeah, I'd agree that's not a great way to teach people, and not a great message to put across to other entrepreneurs either.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's the outsourcing of stuff, instead of just, you've got to think real hard, long and hard about bringing people in, haven't you, before thinking, okay, I definitely need this person, and I have a place for them, and we can look after them for the long term, and just be a bit more responsible about people's lives, I think. So Vic, you're next up, your last one. So I hope that you're fired up from everyone's talks today and you're ready to
go. Right, there you go, unmute. Hi everyone. Yeah, it's awesome, obviously, to hear from everyone. I've not got a slide, and I'm literally going to speak from my perspective, because that's all I know, really. So just a bit about me. So I started about 3.5 years ago. I was weirdly, I was made redundant. So I was like, should I go work for someone else, or should I just go on my own? So I thought, F it, I'm going to do it on my own, which I did. And here we are, and it's going great. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have a business plan, you know, like most people. So we went on the .gov website, downloaded like a massive thing, thick, and it was like, I'm not going to go through that, because you know, one of the reasons that we thought it was, if we'd done a business plan and spent like I don't know, 3-4 weeks doing a business plan, and then, you know, shit happens, like that's time wasted. You know what I mean? So we thought, you know what, we're just gonna, you know, we're gonna set out a plan. You know, why are we gonna set up a business? So we wrote 11 things down, and we said, basically, these are the fundamentals, these are our ethos, and this is what we're gonna do as a business. And it was pretty much everything that we looked at, you know, where I worked, where Mrs. worked, and thought, you know, this is, yeah, this is very, very much the opposite of them. And obviously, this is something that makes us happy. If we keep these. This is what's going to make us happy. Weird. I was going to share this. It's actually on a picture, but I will share it at some point. So yeah. Anyway, so we wrote those down, and then the one thing I had was basically I had clients which I managed to take from where I was working. And I had suppliers who were willing to basically give me credit. So by the way, I didn't even say what I do. I work in IT, like IT hardware, software support, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, so I have these two, and I was like, I'm the middle guy, so I'm just going to make money. So I'm going to buy from there and sell it to them. But one thing that really helped me is, you know, I've always been very close with all my clients, you know, to the point that I've had the same clients for, you know, 10, 15 years. And I've never actually lost a client. I mean, you know, so you know, it's amazing. So, and then the other thing as well, actually, before I was going to say, I was going to thank Adventure, because there's a guy called Keith Evans. I don't know if everyone knows Keith Evans. So I met Keith, obviously, when I started out, because I didn't know anything about business. Or the only thing I knew was basically how to do the job. So, you know, I sat down with Keith, and you know, we went through, and he literally just said, yeah, mate, you don't need any of my help. But it was nice to get reassurance for someone who's obviously run a business. Do you know what I mean? Which was pretty cool. And yeah, so here we are. But yeah, anyway, fast forward a few years, 2019, 2020, obviously, you know, the inevitable happened. And, you know, we're in a lockdown, and, you know, straight away I was like, oh shit, you know, what am I going to do here? But I had to find, obviously, a way of obviously making the business survive. But I was quite lucky. The IT industry has done pretty well during the pandemic. Obviously, everyone needed laptops. Everyone needed to work from home. So I made sure that I was tapping into every opportunity, basically. But the other thing as well, because there is so many of us, which feels like a billion people doing exactly the same thing, you literally have to be different. You know, if you don't stand out, you will literally be like everyone else. Even when I started the business, was, you know, everyone was, you know, in my industry anyway, obviously I can't speak for other industry, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. You know, everyone is very suit and tie, everyone is booted, everyone is speaking this jargon that I don't even fucking understand. Sorry, I don't understand. So I didn't. I literally did the complete opposite. You know, that's the only way I could have, you know, stood out. At the end of the day, you know, there's, you know, everyone is very, you know, I don't even know what the word. Everyone want to be professional. Do you know what I mean? But professional is down to perception. Do you know, just because you wear a suit and wear a tie doesn't mean you can do a better job than me. We can probably do exactly the same job. You know, just because I wear a cap, a hat, or whatever, I wear jeans, you know, at the end of the day, it's about doing, you know, getting the job done. So, you know, it's very, it's annoying, actually, you know, on LinkedIn as well. You know, a lot of people are like, you know, we're professional, you can't be saying that. You know, it doesn't matter. I mean, I the other thing as well, I gave a story of, I told Eve the other day, actually, a story about this guy called Trevor, for example. You know, this, by the way, if a guy is called Trevor and works in your office and it works in accounts, I do apologize. This is not Trevor. This is just literally just an example. Don't go shooting me, right? So this guy called Trevor, right? He's like the most miserable guy in the world, right? You know, Monday to, let's say, Friday morning, yeah? Come Friday afternoon, he's like the happiest dude ever. Do you know what I mean? Because he's just happy because he's going home. And I'm like, and everyone, oh, by the way, everyone is like, oh, by the way, you know, I know Trevor's miserable, yeah? But every time we go out, he's like the coolest guy in the world. It's like, well, why doesn't Trevor be the same person from Monday to Friday? You know, why does he have to be a certain person, you know, from Monday to Friday? Why doesn't he not, you know, be that person, you know, because it just doesn't make sense. So it's like everyone seems to think that you need to be a completely different person at work. I mean, obviously there is, you know, there is boundaries, there's, you know, there is, I suppose, levels of professionalism, or do you know what I mean? But you don't have to be, you just have to be yourself. And people, you know, it's a cliche, but people do buy from people. People want to see the person who you're buying from, you know, does the same thing as you do. Everyone will know that, you know, I don't know, they wipe their bums like you do, you know, like it's something that you don't think about, but you know what I mean? That's a really, really rubbish example, but people want to know that, you know, they can relate to you. You want to be, you know, relatable, but you can't really relate to something or to a company that says, oh, look at us, we've got, I don't know, a pool table in the office, or we've got a coffee machine and all this stuff. It's like, I can't relate to that. We've not got that in our office. For all I know, you're showing off, you know, that's just going to annoy me. I want to know that, you know, you take a dog for a walk and you know, accidentally pick up poo with your hands while you, the bag, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So you want to be completely different, and you want to be honest as well, because that's literally what people, you know, resonate with. And yeah. And the other thing as well is that, you know, you want to be very, very careful. I think Mo did mention that about I think everyone else did, about your mental health as well. You know, it's a big thing. I know everyone is like, you know, mental health, this and that. And I know there's some people who are just sort of using it, but it is very, very important to make sure that, you know, up there, you're, you know, you're focusing and you have that time to recharge, and you have that time to actually, you know, make sure that because if you're not thinking straight, you know, it's never going to work, because you're going to be panicking, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be, you know, acting erratic, you're going to make stupid decisions. So it's very, very important to make sure that, you know, you're looking after yourself, whether that's eating well, you know, spending time with family, speaking to people, which is very, very important. You know, there's so many, you know, I've made so many friendships, especially on LinkedIn as well, you know, people who I can actually sort of like relate to. You know, I know we've all got probably friends that are at work, but you can't really sort of go to your, I don't know, your mate down the road who probably does, I don't know, a job that you're not doing, and start talking to them about work. You know, they're not gonna give you advice. Do you know what I mean? They're not gonna. It's just gonna be like, yeah, it's all cool and everything. But when you find someone who sort of is in a similar position as yourself, you sort of like, you can bounce off ideas. You know, you can talk to them and obviously, you know, come up with a plan and, you know, do things that are relatable to your business and actually help you as a person as well. And it's also very important as well to, you know, to learn from other people that, you know, even in different industry, and see how they've done their business, you know, how they're doing, and just pick, you know, bits from, you know, different people. And yeah, I mean, that's what I've done. I mean, the only mentor, like I said, I've had was literally Keith, and I don't know anything about business, but you know, we're 3.5 years now. I've turned over, sorry, I hate saying this, but to me, it's always been a goal, but turned over just short of, you know, 1.5 million. And I started off with absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. From like, as I said, I was made redundant. I wasn't even paid the redundancy money, God knows until when. But it was just literally just that step where I just said, right, I cannot be like everyone else. If I was like everyone else, I will just, you know, I will just sink. It's pure. And but the other thing as well, you have to every single day you have to change and do something different, like pretty much every day. I mean, especially in my industry, like it changes, you know, on a daily basis, probably an hourly basis. So I have to keep up with it. And if you don't, you will fail. So yeah, but it's been amazing. But again, you know, the other thing as well, you've got to have fun as well. You know, you've got to remember why you started the business in the first place, and always sort of like go back to, you've got to, I mean, I did do a business plan, but I had those 11 steps, but I always go back whenever I sort of, you know, go off track. I just go back and go, oh yeah, that's why I started the business in the first place, is to make sure that I am never like those idiots that I used to work for or whatever, and just go back to there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I talk a lot, by the way, so I do apologize. And if I did swear and everyone got offended, I do apologize as well. But yeah, that's me done.
Thanks, Vic. Mo's giving you a round of applause as well, so appreciate that. I have already messaged my team to make sure that we bleep out anything in the recording. So don't.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay.
I feel like it is something. It's one of those things that you're just like, oh, I definitely shouldn't. But I don't know. It's personal preference, isn't it? I think that, yeah, the business plan thing, again, I think is a reflection of something, of definitely the conversations that Mo and I have had about, you can sit and plan for, you know, months and months and months, but actually getting on with it is how you learn. Also, it's not B2B, it's person to person, it's P2P, isn't it? Everything that you do. We run a B2B marketing agency in Leeds, but B2B is not a real concept, because businesses aren't people, they're not things, they're not thinking entities, they're ephemeral, they don't exist really, businesses. They're not real things, so that it's person to person relationships. And I also think that if you start out a relationship on false pretenses, where you pretend that you're this version of yourself, you then have to be that version of yourself every single time you meet that person. And say you have a 10-year relationship, it will be exhausting to present yourself in that way to that person every single time you meet them. So you may as well just present a true version of yourself when you begin your relationship. Otherwise, you're just going to have to perpetrate this version of yourself every single time, and you need to remember, which version am I with this person, which version am I with this person. And it's just not conducive to scale with, you know, the different people that you meet, because you have to keep on remembering how you have to be with a certain person. If you just are yourself all the time, you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, loads of great things for to think on from everyone. I don't know if we have any questions from our audience, but I think I wanted to ask everyone a bit of a broad question just to start off with for the panel session. And it's basically just sort of where you derive your own personal resilience, whether it's an experience, or whether it's a chain of events, or whether it's from childhood or from business. Who did we start with? Danielle, do you want to go first? Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think mine, you know, I think it's two things. I think it is about part of how you've been raised and that personal strength, but I think much of it does come from learning. And certainly for me, you know, I might not run my own business. Actually, me and my husband did a few years ago, and actually we shut that down. It was quite stressful. But for me, it's the community. It's my community, and that's yourselves and, you know, the business community. What I really love, as particularly over the last year or two as well, is, and I think it will happen in pre-COVID, it's like Vic mentioned, Mo mentioned, Danielle has, Fiona has. It's about that being able to be open about your mental health, be open about things that are worrying you, problems, and actually seeing that you're not alone, and it's okay to have that conversation. You know, I used to do sort of 15, 16-hour days, and that was a salaried staff member, trying to make sure I kept it with everything. And actually that wasn't conducive to either my delivery, you know, or to my boss. So I think it is about just feeling like you can take that time to look after your mental health, because you do perform better, and having that input from peers and seeing that you're not alone, I think it's been a huge help for me.
Mo, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I just want to say that, Vic, I'd like you to be on my next video for host, please. I mean, one of the things, before I answer that question, Georgia, is one thing that Vic sort of encapsulated is that you cannot sanitize an entrepreneur. You can refine them, but you cannot sanitize them. And this is where the dichotomy is at the moment, that we're trying to sanitize people who are naturally disruptors. That's the way you come to this. And whatever you're doing, you must be authentic. And what you saw there was pure authenticity. And authenticity is what drives value to the customer. And that was, you know, phenomenally, you know, presented there, Vic, in that. So resilience. I really go back to purpose, really, because and everything is about purpose, and you must have that defined purpose. Intention is the link between yourself and the purpose. The purer the intention, the more resilient you will be. When that gets rusty and other things come into play, you are less resilient because you lose sight of what your ultimate purpose should be. And therefore, for any entrepreneur, for anybody, it must be that you are reviewing and rejuvenating your purpose for why you are doing this. And the more defined your purpose is, the stronger your intention between yourself and the purpose, the stronger that connection, the more resilient you are. And resilient isn't this sort of alpha male macho sort of definition. Resilience is your conviction to that purpose. And the more you are aligned and more you are committed to that purpose, trust me, you can be as whatever outwardly you might seem, as demure and as fragile, but inner strength comes from your conviction to that purpose. And what we must be doing is ensuring the link between ourselves and that purpose is kept as pure as possible, because when things start to contaminate that, you know, as any entrepreneur, you know, you get the investment, you get the vanity, you get the plaudits, you get the kudos, you get the sort of come on this panel, come on that panel. You lose sight of what your ultimate why was, and that rustiness will then make you less resilient, because when things come about, your motivations have changed. And the truer somebody is, and if you speak to any entrepreneur who's succeeded in any way, or any person who's made a success, it's that conviction to that purpose, and we must define that. So for me, it's about reminding myself of what the purpose is, for why I'm doing, and rejuvenating that intention all the time, and trying to keep that link as pure as possible, not letting anything contaminate it.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And also what people don't understand is you may be the sweetheart of the Manchester tech scene today, and you're on every single panel and everyone's podcast. But if you align yourself and you benchmark your success to how many podcast and invitations you get a week, when you are no longer that sweetheart, and when the next disruptor comes along, the next unicorn comes along in your next yesterday's news, because you have allowed yourself to not be aligned to your purpose, and you've allowed yourself to veer off your path, you are then put in a position that feels really, really bad, and it feels like you've failed, when actually, if you just stuck to your guns and you didn't let all that stuff deviate you from your mission, then you wouldn't be feeling like a failure at that point. No one, and I feel like there's potentially a lack of responsibility potentially in the press, and I think in tech specifically, where people are being huddled around, but no one ever sets them up for or lets them know how it feels when actually the spotlight's not on them anymore. Danielle, did you want to chip in on that as well?
Yeah, I wanted to echo purpose. I think I mentioned, but you know, the point last year when so I don't know how many of you people are aware of that Japanese concept, ikigai. So when you find the cross section of what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs, like that was my light bulb moment last year, when I, you know, found the types of companies that I could help, and that could really use the things, you know, use my skills and use my expertise. That gave me such a kick up the backside, and has kind of propelled me right through to now. I'm still on fire with having realized, you know, what my purpose was, and what I could do to help. And I think, you know, rather than measuring, you know, in terms of how many panels you're on or podcasts you're on or whatever, my measurement is what's the impact that I can have, and how do I really maximize that, and you know, how many people and how many business owners can I help, and it is my purpose that's kept me on track. So just to echo the importance of that, really, to find what you're really here to do.
And Fiona, I know that you talked a lot about finding your purpose as well. It was like a main point in your presentation, but did you want to elaborate any more on that as well?
I think it ties into the purpose, but for me, it's about the mindset and how you look at a certain situation. And if you look at it, you know, with the glass half full versus the glass half empty, you know, that mindset, I think, has a massive impact on how you approach different situations. But then there's always the glass isn't empty, you can also refill it. So I like that one. And I think support as well, like Danielle said, having, you know, the people around you that are going to support you, and you know, be there for those conversations is really important as well, so that you're not in, you know, nobody's in this on their own if they build, you know, if they build the right people around them.
Yeah. And Vic, what do you find? Where do you think your resilience comes from? Is it a childhood thing? Is it from being made redundant? Is it from what's ignited the fire in your belly? You're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a bit of everything. Like everyone, obviously you kind of learn and you go through kind of life. You learn from people's mistakes, your mistakes as well, that kind of thing. But one thing I didn't really touch on there is it's also one of my purposes is about helping other people, which is something I love doing, because I always say this, like there is no better feeling in the world that knowing that you've helped someone. And I try and do that as much as I can. And honestly, it just feels so good. And, believe it or not, I still believe in obviously energy as well. It's about having good karma, and trust me, it does. It works, and it's there. The energy works. And if you help enough people, things come back to you. And I'm grateful. That's pretty much, well, that's what I think anyway. And I've tried to do that as much as I can. But yeah, helping other people as well, helping other businesses, and not for monetary purposes. I mean, not for any, you don't go and help people just because you want something in return. Literally just helping someone just because you want to help them, and see them succeed as well. Because seeing someone grow, and just go like, wow, that's awesome. And seeing what people's potentials are and what they're actually capable of doing, it just makes you feel good inside, just knowing that you're part of that journey and part of that someone's life. So that's it.
It's a really great outlook to have. And I think that, again, from a panel that we had yesterday, it seemed that we were talking about companies who, when the pandemic hit, they literally were completely insular and thought, how is this going to affect me? How am I going to look after myself? What am I going to do? What's my company going to do? And then there was other people who thought, oh, we've got a whole raft of clients who this is going to affect. How can we help them? How can we be there for them this year? How can we look after them? And the difference between those two outlooks, now that there is this, the bounce back that we're talking about, there's a lot of pent up budget that people could not justify spending last year because they didn't know what to do with it, and now it's starting to ease. And that there are things like marketing budgets, there are things like infrastructure budgets that people didn't actually spend last year, and they're going to the people who actually helped each other out during the pandemic. They're not going to the people who were looking after themselves. They're going to the people who were just like, okay, how can I look after my clients? It doesn't matter if it's part of the retainer. I need to make sure that they get through this, because if everyone who pays me gets through this, it means at the end of it, we'll have gotten through it.
But yeah, sorry, just to add on as well, I was just going to say, the same people who you're actually helping, I mean, that's how it's worked for me, especially on LinkedIn, is that, it kind of works both ways, because, these people will actually recommend you to other people. So, they'll actually help you, they'll help you make your business grow as well, because whenever it comes, for me, it's, if it comes to IT, they're like, oh yeah, Vic does IT. So I get tagged on stuff, and obviously, bam, inbound leads. But it's not something that, you do it out of that. It's just something that you do as part of the business. It is just, you just help each other. They help you, you help them, that kind of thing. So it does help you with your business as well. So, in return, that happens. So
you have to practice patience with it as well, because you have no idea when that's going to come back to you.
Yeah, you don't think about it. You don't. You just,
Yeah. Anyone who thinks, oh, I've done a good day today, that'll come back to me tomorrow. Well,
yeah.
And then things come to you, like they come to me where I'm just like, oh, I remember that I spoke to that guy for like 10 minutes at a thing 2 years ago, and he's remembered me because I gave him some really good advice and I hadn't even thought about it. And things will come back to you. It will not be tomorrow. It'll never be tomorrow, but it may, they will at some point.
Yeah.
We've got a great question here from John. He says that he's loving the energy. He says loads of great things. He's looking for advice on finding good connections without becoming a nuisance, if it takes a few calls or contacts. Danielle, do you want to go ahead and give us your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'd say, well, first of all, John, feel free to connect with any of us. I'm sure we'll be able to give you some
we won't think you're a nuisance.
Yeah, never. No, do you know, actually, somebody messaged me yesterday on LinkedIn asking a question, and he apologized, said, I'm sorry if I'm being a nuisance, I'm not asking the right person. And I responded to him, said, you're never a nuisance for asking the question. And you referred to it earlier, Georgia, you would not hesitate to reach out and ask for that support. And actually, the community, John, nobody should see you as a nuisance. Connect, reach out on LinkedIn, connect on Twitter, make that phone call. You know, I love picking up phone actually and speaking to someone and having a good chat with them and finding, like Vic said, a bit about the personality, what do they want to do. And I think if you reach out to connected and supportive people, that network will just grow naturally. And if anybody thinks you're a nuisance just for reaching out to them, they're probably not somebody you want to talk to anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think if I can just add to that as well. So I had a similar problem when I first kind of had my light bulb moment last year and realised that actually the people that I wanted to connect with were in an industry that I really knew nothing about and had no connections in and had no professional experience in. So I'd make it slightly difficult for myself, but I knew, you know, that was where my passion was, and that was, you know, I was convinced I could make a difference and that I could really help. And one of the ways, I guess, that I've found to be able to do that is, so I use LinkedIn a lot. My LinkedIn profile hopefully is nice and clear and explains what I do. And then, you know, I just try and connect with people that are in the kind of area that I want to be connecting with. Whether or not you include a kind of personalized message is down to personal preference. I don't a lot of the time. And actually, you know, I just enjoy growing my network. I love learning off people. I love connecting with people. And usually the sorts of people that have that same mindset will accept your connection request and will start to see the stuff that you're sharing. And, you know, and I've actually had quite a few people get in touch with me. You know, again, it takes some time, but because I share quite a lot of content on LinkedIn, quite a lot of hopefully valuable and helpful content for people, you know, that's actually resulted in people coming to me and going, oh, I've been watching some of the stuff that you've been sharing, and I think you can help me actually. And so just kind of from a, you know, a practical point of view, that's worked for me. So maybe that will help you.
Yeah, did you have your hand up, Mo?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, an entrepreneur must build their network as properly as they build their product, if not more, in that way. But I also caveat that to say there is no instant network that you think this will just land. And the problem I have with the world that we're in this sort of, you know, digital domain around networks is that they're not real networks. And we must approach a network building exercise with the notion that you must start to present what you can do for the network before you expect something in return from them. You must have that philosophy to say, you know, this whole sort of, you know, look at me, you know, like me, you know, do something for me is not a network. A network is built on a mutual reciprocation of value. And that's where that network will really be powerful for you to mobilize whatever product, service, or business that you are presenting. But that takes time, that takes sincerity, and that takes integrity. You cannot just buy a network, which now is, you know, have 5,000 contacts and that's my network and I'll post this out and everybody will like me and whatever. That's superficiality. You must properly, authentically invest time into relationships like we do in our personal relationships, and first and foremost offer something to that relationship before you even ask a question on the return, because that's when true proper value will be forged. And I have learned in my time, and again, go back to Vic's point about service, if you have the mentality that your purpose is so important, you will invest that time because you know that person or that network will help you achieve that purpose in an even better way. So your sincerity will come through. Trust me, people can sniff out superficiality. People can sniff out somebody with an agenda. You might not think so, but trust me, it's true. People have the ability to understand where somebody's genuine or somebody's just blowing smoke up whatever, you know, orifice to ensure that they get what they want. And you must be sincere in your approach to a network, because if you offer something first, volunteer something, you are already ensuring sincerity, and offer it in that genuine way and people will respond to you. Yeah. Support others before they support you, and that's true value from a network. And it's not going to happen overnight. And this problem I see all the time, yes, I can do this, and all of a sudden I've got a network and I've got a community. You haven't got a community, you've just got window dressing, and window dressing is meaningless.
And it's not something that you can just do once. Like, okay, that's me. I've got 1,000 people on my LinkedIn. That's me. I've got my network now. It's something that needs to be nurtured, doesn't it? It's like any relationship in your life needs to be on an ongoing thing. It never ever ends. There's no end to it.
I think there's something, Georgia, you've done with, I've seen, what you've done with your business and the investment you make into relationships, and the effort that it takes. Things don't just materialize overnight. And you expect things from each other, and then all of a sudden there's something going to happen. No, it's got to be a commitment you give consistently to that relationship. That is true value. And an entrepreneur must be ready to make that commitment into all relationships consistently. Anybody can be a superhero for one night. To be absolutely consistent in a relationship is the true test of a proper relationship.
And that's where your resilience is really put to the test.
I was just gonna add something about LinkedIn as well. Just a couple of tips. So I actually posted something a while back about, obviously, value as well is very subjective. It depends. There's a lot of things that you can do, you can give as value. You can obviously tell people how to do certain things, and that's obviously within your industry, which is amazing. That's value. You've got to obviously entertain people as well. You've literally got to stand out. I mean, you could have all the info and put it on a post, and everyone would just be like, yeah, that's a bit boring, isn't it? But you've put everything. You could tell someone how to make gold or diamond or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And they'll be like, yeah, that's how you do it, but I can't be asked doing it. Do you know what I mean? But if you find, obviously, you need to find a way of, giving that info that is actually entertaining, and it's actually, it's like, oh, I want to read that, I want to watch that, I want to do that. You've got to give them a purpose. So whether that's, comment, for me, what I found is basically just, humor people. That's my value. And because my industry as well is very, very saturated, and we all do the same thing, let's be honest, right? There is nothing that I can tell someone about IT that they can't just go Google it and find it. Do you know what I mean? My target audience, IT managers, IT directors, right? I don't even have to tell them anything. They know everything. They know more than I do, So it's absolutely, for me, it's absolutely pointless trying to give them something that is absolutely, I can, what I try and do is basically say, we've probably my testimonies and whatever, I'll just say, well, look at this guy, he's so happy because, he used us and he's like really, really happy. But I did a post back, I'm going back, I talk too much. Anyway, I did a post a while back, right? It's basically a guy who has nothing to do with IT, right? He saw a post, because obviously he follows me, he likes my stuff, and I post a lot of rubbish. I was going to say the other word, right? I post a lot of rubbish, right? And he tagged me on a post that has to do with IT, whatever, yeah. And then they tagged me. Those people put me in touch with someone who was actually looking to do a project, and that happened to be the biggest the biggest deal I've done on LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? It was a lot of money anyway, but that came from someone who was not even in my industry. Had nothing to do with IT. To someone else who had nothing to do with IT, to someone who actually did IT, and the reason being is because they followed me, and they were, in a way, got value. Not value because I told them how to switch a computer on and off. No, value because I made them laugh, and they followed me. They like my post daily because they think I post, cool stuff, I'd like to say, right? And then that's it. And and we're connected, and that's pretty much what happens. So value is very, very subjective, but you've also got to have a fine balance on obviously doing that. You can't just be like, saying crap all the time, but you've obviously got to tell people. But the other thing as well, what happens is, people always go onto my page to find out what I do. So making sure that your page is actually telling people what you do, making sure that they go there and actually read what you do, they go to your website and everything is like spot on, is very, very important. Just making sure that everything that, if someone clicks your name, it's like, boom, wow, that guy does IT, even though he posts shit, he posts rubbish 24/7. So yeah, That's I thought I'll just add that. So yeah, it's very subjective, but you've got to make people want to click stuff. You've got to make people entertained. You've got to make people want to, you know, see another one of your posts, you know, another one of your whatever. So yeah, and that's it. Done. I'm done.
Fiona, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think everybody else has covered it really well.
So I've only got a few minutes left, and I'm going to have to probably cut it off because I need to talk about some of the other events that we're running this week. Not that we couldn't just probably talk the 6 of us for the rest of the week, but yeah. So straight away after this session finishes at well, you've got a bit of a break, Vic and Daniil, until 11:30. There's going to be Start Strong, a chat with adventure. Evie has already added that link to our chat, so if anyone wants to jump straight into that, have a bit of a coffee break at 11, then jump straight into another chat with Vic and Daniil. The Eventbrite link is in the chat there for you to sign up to that. This afternoon, we're running a productivity and business growth session at 2 p.m. till 3. That's with Claire Ackers from Ades. It's with Jenny Morgan from Action Coach and Ellen Wood from Newport Land and Law Limited. The rest of the week, we've got loads of great events coming up. Access to Finance tomorrow, and Business Wellbeing also tomorrow. We've got a guest event from Eat Out Roundabout tomorrow. We've got some inspirational stories on Thursday, employability and upskilling also Thursday afternoon, and then we have equality and diversity in business on Friday morning. Friday at noon, which is going to be really, really great for everyone to attend that one if you're able to. We also have the Wakefield Bounce Back Week Awards. So if you can think of anyone in a business who you think would be great to nominate for an award, if you would like to put yourself up for an award, we have 3 categories: the Community Spirit in Business Award, the Entrepreneurial Excellence Award, and the Wakefield Pivot with Purpose Award. So if anyone on the panel or any attendees know of anyone who would be a great fit for any of those, please submit your responses on the wakefieldbouncebackweek.co.uk website. So I think there's nothing really else to say other than thanks so much for everyone's time on the panel today. Everyone's come with such great energy, and I really, really appreciate that. I know that it's not easy to give so much of yourself every day. So I really appreciate everyone's time, everyone's energy, everyone's authenticity, and I hope that it's been really good for everyone to have this chat between us as well. Hopefully we can make some great connections and allow for a swift economic bounce back in the region through our communities and through our networks. So to Danielle, Daniil, Fiona, Mo, Vic, thanks so much to everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who came to the event today. We have been recording the whole thing. It will be live on the website probably tomorrow. And we look forward to seeing everyone in the rest of the events that we have this week.